Hello, dear Taurus. I am Jamie Dawn, your revolutionary astrologer, bringing you your November 2021 horoscope. And the big theme of November for you is your first and seventh houses, as well as ninth house emphasis. And the reason that I'm pointing to the first house, I'm putting this Taurus sign on the first house. So if you're your sun, moon, or rising sign, this applies to you. You'll feel some of the energy in some way. And I'm pointing to that first house because we have a partial lunar eclipse in your sign this month. And so that's going to be a full moon. And that means that the moon is going to be in your first house. All right. So I will certainly talk about that, but let's just start off with it's Scorpio season. So your seventh house is really active right now. And what this signifies or influences very often is your relationships. And as you've probably heard, if you follow this or if you're familiar with astrology, it's not just personal romantic relationships, it's also professional ones and those that you say, hey, I want to partner with you in some way. And the seventh house also does have an indication that there is a contract involved or there's some sort of negotiating that often takes place. With Scorpio being influenced here with the seventh house is that you may scrutinize, you may go really deep and really looking at why do I want the partnerships in my life that I have? Why are they meaningful? Why do I want to continue them? And why would I want to have that person or that situation reveal to me more of myself? Because seventh house is a reflective house. That's how I see it, because we're usually looking at the other. The first six houses, we're working on ourselves and it's all about us and that sort of thing. And then by the time we hit that seventh house, we're now looking at, I've developed myself. Now I want somebody to reflect back to me what I'm learning about myself. So there's also the indication of seventh house being competition, or consider it the mirror, right? And so again, with Scorpio here, it could be that Scorpio likes to penetrate, likes to go really deep. Oftentimes there's privacy, hidden stuff that show up. There's trust and intimacy topics that come up, and it could be issues as well. So if you are looking at a relationship and you're a little suspicious, or you want to go, why am I feeling intuitively, because Scorpio is very intuitive, why am I feeling that something just seems off? Well, it may be because it is, and you just don't have the answers yet. Now we have Mercury direct. It's still in Libra for just a little while longer. It will move into Scorpio in the seventh house at towards the very first week of November, right after a new moon, which I'll talk about in a second. So I would venture to say that around the new moon on the 4th, as well as when Mercury enters Scorpio on the 6th, that's where you're going to get quite a bit of information that shows up. It could happen a little bit before then, because this new moon is, again, activating your seventh house, but there is a fixed grand square that shows up, because we're going to have the sun and moon in your seventh house, and it's going to create a square to Saturn, and it's going to oppose Uranus in Taurus. And so your first, 4th, 10th, 7th houses are all going to be active here. And that's going to create a dynamic tension that when we're looking at a fix, which you understand because you're a fixed sign, when you're looking at this fixed energy, you want sustainability. Why? It helps you feel like you can rely on things. Like it helps us feel safe and secure. And when we feel safe and secure, we can show up as a partner. And we also ask that of our partners to give us trust and intimacy. We have to have safety. Yeah. And that's what's the big theme at the beginning of the month. Where do I feel safest? Where do I feel that I can trust, not just in myself, but also in who I'm partnered with? And like I mentioned, that seventh house being a reflective quality, you're going to be looking at is the place in which I have partnered, the person or the situation that I feel in partnership, does it reflect my values? Does it offer safety and trust so that I can really get vulnerable? And I think that's another big theme, is that you may be challenged with, can I be vulnerable? with this person. Now it's a new moon, and with new moons, we tend to set intentions. With this being such a watery new moon, and also the moon is not exalted, it's actually in its fall in Scorpio. It's not at its best there. And with that being said, the energy that could present itself is the conflict inside of you may show up through external environments, or it may show up because you are presented an opportunity maybe to be vulnerable, or to actually trust somebody or a situation that you don't normally trust. And so it's like, let me test this out and see. Now, Venus moves into Capricorn November 5th. And so that's right on the heels of this new moon. That's going to activate that ninth house. So you're going to be seeking real truth around this. And Venus in Capricorn takes relationship, it takes work very seriously. And so in this ninth house, you're going to really say, okay, I want, because it's going to make a sextile to this new moon. So you're going to say, it should be easier if you're willing to be vulnerable to say, you know what? I'm going to tell you exactly what I need in order to feel safe here, in order to trust in the relationship, in order to trust that we can take this thing to the next level. We can expand. If it's business, we can expand our footprint by, maybe investing in a few things. And let me tell you what we believe and why you should join us. Or if it's a personal romantic relationship, you may say, you know what, I'm going to be vulnerable enough and say, what I want to feel safe is I want to partner with you, and I need it just to be you and I don't want the casualness of this dating. I want exclusivity. So that's another thing. It may be that you talk about your belief systems and if they line up together. And if they don't, then you may have to decide that this just isn't for you. It's possible that could come up, especially with this lunar eclipse on the 19th, because again, that first and seventh house is being activated. You're really going to be evaluating a lot this month, going really deep and investigating and saying, what makes me feel emotionally secure here? Because that's what Scorpio really is about, is that emotional bonding as well as transformation. So whatever you intend, whatever you go into this month with, it's going to have a sense of, can I trust myself, and can I truly partner with someone if their relationship or if their values line up with mine? Now we're going to have Mercury, like I mentioned, entering Scorpio, also right on the heels of Venus moving into Capricorn. That's on November 6th. And so there's a lot of energy around this where you may have intense conversations. You may even be mulling something over in your mind and keeping certain things, certain ideas and declarations close to your chest, or maybe you don't even realize it's somebody. Let's say you're single, somebody has a crush on you, right? That when Mercury enters Scorpio, it could get revealed. Maybe not right on the 6th, but during the month of November. It may also be that it lets you go into the depths of relationship and be truly transformed. I will say this, single Tauruses, if you are dating, if you're open to dating, that the month of November could offer you a relationship that is transformative for you. And why would we even get into a relationship with somebody? It's so that we can continue to evolve, so we can practice. It's very easy to live on our own. Yeah, the loneliness can set in, but we don't have anybody to bump up against but ourselves when we're by ourselves. And so the month of November is where you get to bump up against yourself, but you also get to invite partnership to reflect to you what's really true for you. That's the other thing. There's a lot of truth here that can show up, and it may be reflected in the relationship conversations that you have. You may do some investigative work. Some of you, if you're in a business like investigation or psychology or things that let you go really deep into some of the unknown places, the month of November gives you a chance to be able to have revelations, to be able to have information shared. The shadow side, of course, is that you could get really paranoid. So do be careful of that. You may also create intense conversations that not everybody's prepared for. And so you may need to just hold tight and watch how controlling your conversation may come across, because Scorpio can be very controlling because it wants to feel safe and secure, right? Now, Mars and Mercury will square off with Saturn and the Moon on November 10th. So your 7th and 10th house is going to be active here with that square. It's a small square. It's not one that lasts very long, but it's still going to be there. And you've experienced these squares all year long. So think about a theme here with Saturn and the Moon. It can get very depressive and very heavy, right? Especially emotionally. And with Mars and Mercury there, it could show up because somebody says something that doesn't feel good to you, a partner, a relationship, maybe something doesn't get said and you're trying to force it out into the light. That's that 10th house. You want it to come out. Maybe there could be a few of you that hear something or you're thrust into a spotlight that you have to maybe defend yourself. That's another indication here. Small population, but it could happen as well. The sun will square off with Jupiter November 15th, and then Jupiter becomes the focal point of this lunar eclipse on the 19th. So I'm pointing to Jupiter in Aquarius right now, and it is in your 7th and 10th houses again for the sun and Jupiter square. And then the lunar eclipse, as I mentioned, your 1st and 7th. So again, more 7th house. I can't emphasize enough, but Jupiter's a benefic planet. It's expansive, good luck, fortune. And in Aquarius, right now, it's expanding the ideas. It's expanding the connections we have across humanity, across our groups in a larger scale. And so what you may find is that even though there's a square, which indicates tension here, that you may not feel as effective as you want in your partnerships, but here comes that lunar eclipse, that the clarity that drops in as you fight through gaining more clarity about a particular situation with someone who you would consider to be a partner, that now at that lunar eclipse, you can let go of the past. You can let go if it's a toxic relationship, if it's that, hey, I was dating somebody and they seemed like they were all good. And then suddenly they showed that they really weren't invested or that they were cheating or whatever, that lunar eclipse it never feels good, but it gives you a chance to be able to go, wait a minute, I deserve better. It may also be at this lunar eclipse time that because your 1st house is activated, that what feels good to you is to let go of maybe some sort of physical physical appearance. That's what I'm looking for. So you may decide that, hey, I'm going to have some surgery done or whatever. I wouldn't recommend it during a full moon, but if you have already had it scheduled, or you're looking at, hey, I'm going to move to a new neighborhood or whatever, this is actually a great time to do it because you're releasing something and bringing something new in. Also, it gives you a chance to finalize. Eclipses are finalities. And it gives you a chance to really put something to rest. And it may just be that you're able to anchor in deeper with your partner and say, you know what, I'm going to let go of the fear because I now have peace and I now have security. And we've been talking really intensely about what we both want, and we're in alignment. And some of these conversations haven't been easy with these squares going on in that 7th and 10th house. But now I know that I can have this wonderful partnership, and that now we can expand and do some cool shit together, because the sun will enter Sagittarius in the 8th house on November 22nd, and then Mercury will enter Sagittarius on the 24th. So this 8th house starts to get some energy moving into December, where you should be able to enjoy the holidays. And what can happen here is that it allows you to feel a little bit lighter, a little bit freer in your more intimate relationships. And you can talk about it in a way that says, you know what, let's create a situation where we just have an adventure. We explore topics that just, maybe are taboo, or maybe there's a topic that we just don't normally talk about or try and experience together. But this could be a lot of fun to do together. And you start to create opportunities towards the end of November to do things together as a couple or as a partnership, whatever that might be. Now, Venus sextiles Mars as well. So our cosmic lovers are going to be having this beautiful, it's a harmonic aspect. It's not like a trine, which just happens so naturally, you almost take it for granted. This is where there's a little bit of effort, but the rewards, and sextiles are about opportunities. So if you're looking for an opportunity to express your truth with your partner, to have an adventure, to maybe expand your partnership, and as in have a family, or maybe you want to work long distance and the two of you move across, the waters together and all of that. This is a beautiful time for that. Or maybe travel together to experience something really deep and meaningful for the two of you, when Venus is sextiling Mars towards the end of the month, that's a great time for you to do that. And I would offer that meaningful relationship, meaningful partnership, meaningful conversations are going to be important to you as the month continues to unfold. So I hope that this helps, Taurus. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. There's so much more, of course, to us than just this generalized reading. If you need a personal reading, come find me at jamiedon.com, and I look forward to connecting with you. Let me know how it's going, you guys. Have a great month.